Hey everybody, Chris Matan here, Real Estate Machine Show. We're going to talk about real estate today and what holds deals together. I think I don't know. I guess you can go all the way back into history that this applies, but I'm seeing it more and more of what a buyer really wants and what a seller really wants when you bust through all of the mess and all of the blurriness and stuff like that. Really, a buyer's looking for one thing and a seller is looking for one thing. And if you can deliver those two things to the two parties involved in the transaction as a broker, I think that you'll find that deals are going to be staying together. The likelihood of a deal not falling apart is greater when you think about these two things. And listen, every buyer is different, and every seller is different, and every deal is different. Especially when you're looking at a commercial deal. I'm looking at multifamily a lot these days, and all of my deals are they seem to be going in the same direction, and I've noticed a pattern, and the pattern is what a buyer is looking for is transparency. They really want to know what's going on ahead of time and really dig into the property as much as possible, even pre-due diligence. Listen, due diligence is what it is. You're going to look under the hood. You're going to spend more time, digging into numbers and looking at the not only looking at the numbers, but looking at the supporting information that supports those numbers. For example, leases and rent rolls and utility bills and tax bills and all of this stuff that goes along with evaluating a property. You kind of need that backup information. So you use the time during your due diligence to kind of look at all that stuff, right? And it takes a little bit of time, but if you kind of know what you're doing, it shouldn't take that long. And if you've got some experience, you kind of already know what you're looking for. Um, and then on the other hand, you want to know the condition of the property, to some degree. Some of the sellers out there, they're not familiar with every piece of the building. Um, but a lot of them are. And, I think that, getting a head start on some flaws perhaps might serve you in the end, as opposed to going through due diligence and having a couple of surprises that at the 11th hour, end up queering the deal, which you don't want also. And no seller wants that because a buyer wants transparency and a seller wants performance. That's what a seller wants. The seller wants to close. Unless they're just wasting everybody's time and they like talking about their building and showing their building and don't care if deals fall through. A seller is on the market or selling or under contract with the express intent to close the deal. And the performance of the buyer is the only way that that's going to happen. So if the seller can offer up some transparency to the buyer, there you go. The likelihood of that deal following through and closing is much more likely. There are a lot of things that are going on right now with expenses. Their insurance is a huge talking point. Property taxes increasing. Property management fees are increasing. Utilities are increasing. Everything is increasing. Labor, you name it. So you really got to look at those expenses and, see how it looks, how the global picture of the deal looks. And, it's part of the seller's duty a little bit to be transparent about that. And look, if you're going to be transparent and, you should have the conversation with your broker ahead of time where, be transparent with the broker. The broker can then advise you what's the best way to go. Listen, I mean, you can bury your head in the sand and you can offer a deal completely as is and just roll the dice that a buyer is going to take it as it is and not really worry about too much of the due diligence. But what you're going to do is you're going to take a massive hit on your price. So if price is not an issue, then have at it and let somebody just go through the process and the exercise of evaluating everything without any information. And, if they see that they're into it for a low enough basis, it may not even matter. And then they'll close with cash and it'll be a quick and easy deal. But, if you're a seller out there and you're looking for, market to top dollar money on your building, you got to support it in some way, shape, or form. And being transparent and giving the buy and collaborating with the buyer and helping them perform and get all the way to closing is what it's going to take. And I think more and more sellers are willing to do that because they want that performance, and they would almost take a little bit of hit in the price because there are certain things with the building that may need to be addressed. And, the buyer knowing that ahead of time can kind of bake that into their offer, bake that into their sale price. And, everybody is kind of on the same page. So, at the end of the day, it comes down to dollars and cents, and it comes down to money and, what the seller is going to walk away with and what the buyer is going to bring to the table. So if you can get two collaborative parties working together to, for the ultimate goal of closing the deal, and everybody give a little bit, the end price, it's going to be a fair price. It's going to be a fair deal for everybody. But, the most important thing is that everybody's going to perform. So, and then when everybody performs, everybody gets paid. The seller gets paid with their proceeds, the brokers get paid with their fees, and the buyers get paid with a property they know what they're with eyes wide open. They know what they're going into, and they're going to add value and they're going to create wealth, and property's going to appreciate. And at some point, they're going to become a seller, and the cycle is going to kind of continue. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. Very interested to hear if there's any comments out there on what other people are doing, what sellers are looking at, what buyers are looking at, how brokers are handling the overall transaction these days. But I think that, a collaborative effort on everybody's part is first and foremost to getting a deal done. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you next time on the Real Estate Machine Show.